I actually love playing in places that aren't traditional venues. Guitar was my first musical instrument, and I was about 11 when I first started playing guitar. My parents kind of always had really great singer-songwriter music in the house, so there was always Jackson Browne, Joni Mitchell, Van Morrison, Ricky Lee Jones, like always these singer-songwriters playing, and that kind of seeped into my psyche, I think. I still love singer-songwriters. Surprise, surprise, that kind of singular perspective of like a person and their experience of the world through song is still what I'm drawn to, more so than like, you know, crafted like band identity. So more contemporary people, I love Gillian Welch and Patty Griffin, and Anais Mitchell is a songwriter that I adore and look up to a lot. So I kind of just let the songs guide me, you know? I write what comes and then figure out what that song needs in terms of like sonically and production. So it's kind of like I live my life and then I write my songs about that life, and then the songs dictate how the sound and the music evolves. That's kind of, you know, my perspective, and I very much write for me. Like my music is so much connected to my own personal growth, so when I grow, the songs grow. So I think thematically my songs have expanded a lot, and yeah, the way I'm able to connect with them and present them has matured. I mean, Where I Know You, the songs all just came out of my life and my experience, but then it was after the fact that I started to understand the thread between those specific songs and how they were sort of me relaying back stories and experiences that people in my life had shared with me, and how those stories then helped me to know and understand these people in my life on a deeper level. So I kind of decided to put them together and create this little concept EP collection of story songs, which in a way reconnected me to my own creativity, because for a second it wasn't all about me. It was like I have a responsibility to share these other people's stories, and that might not be shared otherwise. So it was very important for me just creatively to make that project. And yeah, how we know people is kind of separate from time and space. It's like this collection of information and stories and things we've gathered, maybe about parts of their lives that we weren't even there for, but we kind of know people through story and through what they led us into. So yeah, Where I Know You was the title track of that. That was about a long drive, a long road trip in which a lot happened, and I felt like I really saw the whole of somebody. I wrote Everything Else a few years ago, and it's remained one of my favorite songs I've written, but I've tried recording it in so many different ways, and I played it in all my shows, and it's very close to my heart, but I could never figure out the right way to record it. It never sat right. So finally we figured it out, and I'm so happy to put it out into the world. But that song sort of unlocked a new writing world for me. It just sort of came out and then showed me a new sort of energy that I could write in. So it's, I'm very thankful for that song. The Everything Else video, yeah, I mean, I worked with a filmmaker from New Hampshire. We just wanted to do something very simple. That song, I kind of want it to be, I don't want to put too many ideas in your head about it visually, because I just want it to be what it is. So we just kind of picked a pretty spot in a field, and I just played the song, and then that was the video. I think Where I Know You was different because it was very intentional. It wasn't just, here's my next batch of songs that I've written. It was, these songs belong together. Like, there are songs on that if I was making a different project, probably wouldn't have made the project, but it was because they fit together thematically. And it was also recorded differently. It was very much like live. Me and the upright bass player kind of did everything live, and then we built around that. Bethany is the story of someone in my life. It's about kind of like how we can romanticize a certain lifestyle when really you give up a lot for it. And then Everything Else is about uncertainty and kind of finding strength in that. So, I mean, I guess those songs sort of have different messages. Everything Else is very much like just coming from the deepest part of me. Bethany is a story that was kind of given to me that I was able to craft into a song. So to me, when I write those songs, they have very different they come from a very different place. Bethany is a narrative, and I feel more like I'm writing a novel where I'm building characters and I sent those pictures to a lovely graphic artist who works under this company called Jane Made, and she figured out the best way to do it, but we ended up going for something really simple and just using those pictures and kind of having like a scrapbooky feel, because that's kind of what the songs are. It's like this little memory book of, you know, collaged pictures and memories and lines and moments. So I think it's also just, if I can access a certain vulnerability myself, like whether or not I make eye contact with you, if you can tell that I'm really at that place that the song came from, it's more likely to generate, you know, an equal level of like emotional presence in you. So, so it's a, you know, reciprocal sort of effect, in the sense that if I can be very there and in the moment and not phoning it in and really in the emotion of the song, then that stirs that in other people, and then we're able to connect on sort of a different wavelength. Yeah, I've played some new songs. Yeah, I mean, I'm always interjecting new songs whenever I have them, because they're more fun for me. I don't know, they're more fun for everybody else, but they're more fun for me to play and to kind of test out. So I've been playing a couple new songs on this last tour, and will continue to pull them up as they come to me. Ryan O'Reilly is a dear friend of mine that it kind of was happenstance that I was already coming to tour in this part of the world in the spring, and just before that he asked me to come open for him in December in Germany. And Ryan grew up in England but is living in Berlin, and this is kind of his home base touring-wise, is this part of the world. So it was an amazing kind of, he was like showing me the way of touring in Europe, and he's brought me to some amazing kind of little nooks of the world, and we've written songs together and performed together, and so it's a great artistic, you know, collaboration. Ryan and I played, we did this last tour in Sweden together these past few weeks, and then now I'll tour on my own in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Denmark. This upcoming run is just me, and then him and I have some more shows together later in October, but for the next month or so I'll be on my own. It depends on this, like, you know, I guess a few of those were openers that my agent at the time set up, and or like a big group night where there's a bunch of acts on the bill and I'm kind of like the emerging artist or the, you know, baby of the lineup. So it all depends. What I have right now is I'm doing this pre-order, like you can pre-order my new project, which is in the works, or you can book a house show if you want to give more. And then because I play house shows all the time anyway, but it's a way to like advance the money so I can make my next project, and then I'll come do the release show in your house. Yeah, well, I'm also gonna live in Germany for a while in the spring for 6 months, so that was my idea, to finish a project before I move, finish a project in the US with the producer I work with now, and then go play some house shows before I go. But yeah, I just love house concerts. I love intimate concerts. As I said, I love doing concerts in places where people don't usually do them, because I think it makes people interact with the music differently. And it suits my songs well. It suits my solo set where I can tell stories, and it's just pure, you know. It's like good old-fashioned like connection. Like gather your best friends, gather the people you love. We'll have, you know, dinner and wine and whatever. We'll hang out, we'll talk, but then we'll sit and we'll listen to music together and like stories that connect us. So I've always been very drawn to that. So whenever I can do a house concert, I do, and I've met amazing people doing it. It's very intimate, it's fun. So it's fun for me. It's actually one of my favorite ways to share my music. It's not like, I did a tour of just house shows in the UK, and sometimes people would say to me like, oh, well, don't you wish, like, was this because you couldn't get shows at clubs or whatever? And I was like, no, I'd rather play here than in a club, you know? So I think sometimes people are like, why? But it's so empowering, and kind of puts the songs in the right light to do it your own way and do it differently. So, I mean, yeah, I've gotten to open for or be part of shows with some really amazing musicians and singer-songwriters, so it's always a treat. Always a little nerve-wracking, but always, you know, an honor. I'm just about to start on this next leg of it, which is a little different, and my friend just flew in to join me and do some driving, and so kind of shifting around, but these past few weeks were really special. It was my first time in Sweden, and now I'm on to go back to some familiar places that I was at in the spring and go to some new places. So it'll be great. I'm excited. I'm ready for an adventure. Yeah, I do a lot of like very random, intimate. I actually love playing in places that aren't traditional venues. So I set that up on purpose for myself a lot, like a lot of house concerts and a lot of just shows in unique spaces where there aren't usually shows. The more unique, the better. I mean, sometimes if you're in a crowded bar and people are talking, for my music, that's not the best because it's very quiet and it kind of demands a listening room. So in that case, a living room, while it might not be like super shiny on paper, is a better space for my songs. I think that's my job, is like, I feel like I'm the song's mother and I have to put them in on the right stage, you know, in the right place for them to shine. So, yeah. In general, like if anyone ever emails me and is like, can we do a house concert, I'll always send them the rundown and say, okay, and see if it's possible. With me trying to raise money for my next album, it's sort of like a, you know, front the money so that I can go in and make this album, like crowdfunding, and then I come and play the show. I've done a Kickstarter before, but I just wanted to do a small scale thing, so this is just my thing. Yeah, I mean, I think there's days of both. Once you get in like the flow, it's great, but there are days when you're like, oh, I just want to stay in the same bed 2 nights in a row rather than pack all my stuff up again. Had a good 2.5 months just like to enjoy home, so I was ready for an adventure when I left. So yeah, I mean, it's balance. If I spent too long, I might miss home, but if I spent too long at home, I'd miss the road, so. I'm going to tour a lot more here in Europe because that has proven to be very fruitful and inspiring this past year, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to do it. And then in turn, I think having a rich experience like touring in a new country and with new people brings up lots of material for writing. So I hope to write a lot and keep playing over here and finish my next project that I'm plugging away at bit by bit as I can afford it. So yeah, it'll be a good year. Hopefully it's a full-length album, but it might be shorter. It might be like a long EP, we'll see. But yeah, I am working on recording a project right now.